Extra Time on Tip FM.
Hello, good evening and welcome to another edition of Extra Time. My name is Ronan Quirk. We're here until 8 o'clock this evening. We'd love to get your thoughts on events over the course of the last week or so. Our text number is 083 311 3311. That works for WhatsApp messages as well. 083 311 3311. We're also on Blue Sky. Our Blue Sky handle is extra time at bsky.social if you want to find us there. But that text number again is 083 311 3311. Lots to come on tonight's show as we look and start our review of the year and talk to Tom about some of the highlights and some of the controversies in what was a really fantastic, wonderful year for Tipperary GAA and Tipperary sport in general, to be honest, which is so many fine sporting achievements by so many of our fine athletes. And if you see something that you think is worthy of a nomination for a Tip FM Sports Star Award, just send an email to sportstar@tipfm.com because we're looking for nominations for the December award. Sportstar@tipfm.com. That's in association with the Talbot Hotel in Clonmel and Quirk Trophies Limited in Care. Upper Church Drumban, the winners for November after their Munster Intermediate hurling title win last month. But sportstar@tipfm.com is the number you would need to, or the email you need to send to if you wish to nominate somebody for a December award. Well, there's finals going on around the county still. There's lots of games to go to at the weekend. You can't say there's nothing to see or do or go to a match. And let's have a word with John O'Shea, who's the West PRO. How are you, John?
Ron, how are you?
I'm very well. Under 21 A and B hurling finals took place at the weekend, John, and in the hits just keep on coming for Golden Kilfeacle, don't they?
That's right. It just seems that they're on a roll, and it just seems that as I said, the juggernaut continues. Went into that A final yesterday in Bancha against Arravale Rovers, a unique pairing for under 21 in the West, because you had Cashel, Canalty, Kappa, either Kappa Gales or Kappa Traces or some of them, or Kickham's, usually in one of those in a final for the last, God, I don't know how long. But to the unique final, and I suppose they had played in the round game a couple of weeks back, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, back, and Arravale won it by 8 points, and Cashel, or Golden then had to play Cashel in the semi-final, and what they did last week, the way they overturned them there, really and truly. And, it was hard to know what way to look at the game, in the run-up to yesterday. But from the start, it just shows that they were very, very even. Golden set the pace there, led 5-3 there after 7 minutes. But then Arravale got in for a goal. It was probably one that Golden would probably, when they'd look back and it felt that they should have defended better, but they didn't. But they recovered well after the goal, and they were on level terms there. Then back again with 8 minutes before half time, and that's the way it went in at half time. 1-7 for Arravale. 10 points for Golden. Now, no wind, actually. It was a lovely day in the afternoon in Banshee yesterday, and they pushed on then after the break with a point from Ben Corrigan. And I suppose last week, Ronan, I referred to him as Ben Cunningham, so I'm after getting a lot of Golden. I don't know what put it into my head, but
it's
anyway,
okay. And if I was any good, I'd have corrected you. But I was wondering if it was the same one and the same person at the time, because Ben would be well known in parishes or even outside the West.
Yeah, and look at got a bit of stick from it there, and the people in Golden know who they are. Look at that. Just to correct it there, Ronan.
Well, I'm glad they're listening. That's all I can say. Keep going anyway.
Anyway, then I suppose the turning point came at 11 minutes into the game, or 10 minutes into the second half. Corrick Dalton got a goal, a well-worked sort of an individual goal, worked it there from around midfield, the open side at the road side there in Bancha. Eventually ended up in the back of the net, and that gave them a 3-point cushion. Ben Corrigan then again added 2 more points. Aaron Bones pulled one back from a free for Arravale. It was Golden again. They hit the next 3 scores, and then Sam Hall, who was having a quiet game, got in for a great goal. And that was what 9 minutes to go, game over. You could say they pushed on then and they ran out 218 to 111. Winning the second half 2-8 to 4 points. Now, going back to that round game maybe a couple of weeks, I think, Golden learned an awful lot more from that game than what Arravale did. They saw, where Arravale's strong points were, and they went out with a plan to cut out that and not let Arravale dictate, and that's what they really done. They sort of, to the replication there of the Cashel game last week, where they were in their faces in the second half. And I suppose the lesser lights of Golden, if you want to put it that way, really, dug deep and played their part in it. But when you look over that Golden team, there, will say of their intermediates that they had on it, they had, Kieran Byrne there at centre back, Ben Corrivan, Jack Bergen, Éanna Orman, Sam Hall, these lads. And these were the guys who really stood up yesterday in the conditions. And it was, I think myself, now I might be wrong, that they'll be playing the mid-champions now, either Holy Cross or the Sarsfields in county semi-final. Yeah. And I don't think, I wouldn't put it this way. I wouldn't be shocked if they turned one over on and put it that way, because they're on a run.
But the club must be on a high. I mean, when they do have a social early in 2026 to reflect on what they've done in 2025, there's going to be a lot of silverware knocking around.
By God, there is. And if you go back to the Crossco Cup, I think it was back in April. Now, they wouldn't be used to winning the Crossco Cup because they were intermediate, you know what I mean? But they turned over, Cashel in the semi-finals, so that was probably Cashel's second team, but they turned over Éire Óg in extra time in that Crossco Cup final. And that sort of really got them going, and they got a taste in of winning some, because you must remember 2 years ago at under-19, they didn't win the under-19 in the West, And while they have been together a lot coming up along, there was sometimes silverware eluded them, but they were developing, and they had sort of, I'd say, changed their style of play this year, and that had a lot to do with these lads playing in the intermediate team, and they build it around that. And look at their work rate. Their work rate is unbelievable, and there's no. They're never beaten for a ball, that sort of way. Look at they reap the rewards there, and they were sort of, they were beaten in the semi-final of the county semi-final of the intermediate football as well, won West intermediate football. So I mean, these lads have been, I don't know how many games they've played.
You talk about, myself and Tom and JJ were talking about changing age grades, and the issue of burnout comes up. But I mean, those fellas, they're probably not doing much training because they don't need to do much training because they're playing every weekend, and they're probably would substitute playing competitive matches despite the time of year for training sessions.
I don't buy into this burnout at all. The burnout comes from in the training field, I think, because where different coaches are driving on, they think they're there. God Almighty, every individual one. But when it's managed, and Golden were able to manage that, they were playing week on week. Now, albeit at a lower grade, but they were the same as Lockmore, in the senior. They were at intermediate, and there was no sign of burning out there yesterday. There was no sign of cramping. There was no sign of anything heavy ground. So they just seem to drive on, and they're probably playing now in 2 weeks' time against the Sarsfield or Holy Cross. And they'll be up for that, Well,
they'd be delighted to be still playing hurling and close to Christmas. I must ask you whether you can put your finger on Golden Kilfeacle's success this year, whether there is one thing, one X factor that they introduced, or is it just a culmination of a couple of good young fellas who've come through the system, who are contributing to their adult team, contributing at under 21 level, contributing in both codes? It seems to be pretty much that they're reaping the benefits from.
It is. I think it's more how they are managed. There's a lot of them lads that are over them now, and they're around them for a while, and you have, say, Shane Stapleton is there. He seems to be with that bunch of lads forever, I'd say, since they were out of the Prem,
Under
he seems
sixes,
to be knocking around on the periphery. And, for example, then you have Brian Leamy, the chairman there. You have good lads, and a lot of the lads that was involved with the intermediates there are knocking around that team as well. There's a sort of a core bunch of lads there on the sideline from Golden, and they're all, collectively, they all have an input into it, and they just seem to manage these guys. Now, looking at it from what I've seen, they seem like an okay bunch of lads to manage. That sort of way. They're sort of buying into what they're at. They seem to be a very happy bunch of lads. Now, they were beaten in the 19B West final as well. So they've been knocking B hurling, and they won the B football and won the county B football. So, I mean, as you said, hurling and football, it just seems come to them. Hurling one week, drop the hurleys, pick up the football, and away they go again. Even though football would probably be their second love. Yeah,
but they're still extremely competent at it, and they're taking a leaf out of the Upper Church's Lockmore Castellani, playbook, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you'll see how successful those two clubs have been. I want to nip into the under 21B as well, give them their fair crack of the whip. Kappa White Gales 2-13, Knockavilla Doneski Kickham's 2-8.
Yeah, look at the two teams, the two outstanding teams in that group met in the final. They had met in a round game, and there was 1 point between them in that. I think it was 15 points to 14. Headed into the final, we didn't know what to make of it. Now, there was a terrible rain in Anacarty yesterday. That was a 12 o'clock start. Terrible rain in Anacarty. As I said, the game in Banch in the afternoon was as different as chalk and cheese. Rain, torrential rain there from the throw-in, before the throw-in in Anacarty. Wind blowing up the field, or blowing towards the road goal there. Kappa attacked that goal there, and they had the benefit of the elements there for the first half. And they got off to a pretty good start there. They were 1-2 up after 6 minutes there. The goal coming from Stephen D there, and then Kickham's got a point from a free there to get him going. But then Kappa came back again and hit the next 4 points, and they led, what was it, 1-7 to 4 points at half time. 6 points of a thing, but Kickham's really hadn't got into the game. They never reached the pitch of that game in the first half. Minute and a half after the restart, Kickham's had a man sent off, and that sort of fired them up, because they made adjustments to the team. Michal Gleeson had been in the goal, chap just waiting there for to get an operation. He was playing on that intermediate team out around the half-forward line there, and he came out of goals up to the forward, and Evan Slattery went back in the goals, and that's added a bit of extra bite to the forwards. Evan Burke got in for a goal then after 11 minutes of the second half, 1-9 to 1-5. Only a 4-point game, and with 8 minutes to go, Gleeson got a goal, and it reduced it to 2 points. But they couldn't get in for a third goal, third goal. And it was down to 2 points, and we're still, it was all in the melting pot. Kappa got a goal then on 60 minutes, and that put it out to 5. But certainly
entertaining by the sound of it. Entertaining by the sound of it.
Oh, it was entertaining despite the conditions were terrible now, and you have to say fair play. But look, I think overall, Kappa were the better team for the 60 minutes, and I suppose now whether there was 5 points in it in the finish, I don't think there would. It wasn't a 5-point game in the finish, but Kappa just shaded it along, had a bit of luck there that they were able to build up a good lead in the first half, and they defended it. Keegham never led them at any stage of the game. You know what I mean? So look at a good day for Kappa White Gales.
One texter says, I was at the game in Banch yesterday, and I was at many games over the last few weeks, and I have to give praise to Galtee Rovers St. Pecans for the condition of their pitch. It was immaculate for this match. And fair play, it's not easy to get pitches.
No, Banshee is a good pitch.
Yeah, it is.
But not only is it a good pitch, it's well managed, and the lads that are working there on it, they keep it in great condition. Now, that's a sort of a sand-based pitch, it's a natural pitch there. There was sand put into there way back. At this time of the year, it's a great pitch for it, because down there, on the foot of the Galtees, you get rain there where you get it nowhere else as well. So I mean, it's a credit to them.
It is a credit
great condition
yes.
Yesterday, not a doubt in the world about it. It hosts Harty Cup matches and whatever during the winter months. It's the get-go pitch around there for even for the county or anything, you know what I mean? When other pitches are not playable, Banshee is, put it that way.
Fair play. Listen, I don't know if you caught any of the under-17 county final between Mile Rovers and, was it Aherlow Gales?
Aherlow Gales, or Aherlow
combo with Latin
Cullen, yeah. No, I didn't, Ronan, unfortunately, now.
Yeah, but I'm led to believe now Mile Rovers won it, and congratulations to them, but I believe that the Aherlow combo put up a right good show, and might feel themselves a bit unlucky, so fair play.
Yeah, I heard that all right there. They were expected a lot of that team there. They were, a nice team, and like that bodes well for the future again, because like I know it's only 17, under 17, but they need a bit of a lift out there. There's a lot of work going on in clubs like that, and like they'd be a sort of going way back. They'd be traditional football clubs. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean Aherlow, and they were senior for so long, and
but Latin in their own
right,
going back through the years in their own right, were a big football club back in the days. But look, there's a lot of work going on. Probably a lot more to be done in them, but it's getting them. The whole thing now with those lads is, can they develop them and bring them on?
Yeah.
And, winning, sometimes a team that maybe is at that age might come better down the line, maybe when they'd reach 21, that sort of way.
Oh, I understand completely, yeah. John, you've been a busy man for the last couple of weeks. My thanks to you. I don't know when you get to put your pen down, your microphone down, your phone down, and put your feet up. But whenever that time comes, John, enjoy it. We'll talk to you, I'm sure, in due course.
Yeah, all right, Ronan.
Take care of yourself. Thanks indeed. John O'Shea, busiest man in Tip. He's giving us his thoughts on those West under 21A and B finals. Back in a sec.
Extra time on Tip FM. The Tip FM Sports Star of the Month with the Talbot Hotel Clonmel, multi-award winning wedding specialists with state-of-the-art leisure facilities and spa with food served daily.
The Tip FM Sports Star of the Month.
Get your nominations in now.
Yeah, as I told you earlier, sportstar@tipfm.com is the email address you need to use for those nominations. sportstar@tipfm.com. Let's have a word with Tommy Sheehan, who's the caretaker of Feathertown Park. How are you, Tommy?
Well, how are you? How are you keeping?
Mighty, Tommy, mighty. You're in for a hell of a night next Saturday night, because you've got Liam McCarthy, Sam Maguire in Feathert, along with their respective holders. Couple that with Tip footballers and Limerick hurlers also turning up as well for a night to raise money for the Dylan Quirk Foundation.
Yeah, so this Saturday night, we say 13th of December, we say we're going to light up here in Feathertown Park. It's probably going to be an unforgettable evening for all GA people who are welcome the All-Ireland champions from both teams, which is very unusual. It's going to be a top-class night of hurling and football, and it's a huge celebration for the community and everyone in support of the Dylan Quirk Foundation.
Yeah, I mean, what was the genesis of this, or where did this come from? Because so many people are looking for ways to raise money for the foundation, and so many people are looking for, matches at this time of the year. The teams are back doing their pre-season, so I'm sure Liam is delighted to get a run into some of the players.
Yeah, so I suppose with us here in Feathertown Park, it's something that we always wanted to do. We wanted to do some form of fundraiser for the Dylan Quirk Foundation, but it was always trying to find the right time and what we could do that would make it very special. I suppose this year is the ideal year with Tip winning the All-Ireland hurling final, and I spoke with Dan earlier in the year and I said, listen, we're going to try and get something run off here before Christmas. I didn't know then that Tip would be All-Ireland hurling champions at the time. Dan was all for it, and it just went on from there. I suppose Kerry arrived on here one day then with Sam Maguire, and I got speaking to the Secretary of the Kerry County Board, Peter Twist, and I asked them would they be interested in coming up and playing in a match against Tipperary footballers at the time, and he said he would, and it just took off from there. I suppose there's a lot of planning gone into it over the last couple of months. We've only a very small crew here: Seth, Susan, Anne, Willie, Tom, Laura and Morris Maloney. See, 6 of us here, so we put our heads together and we tried to bang out this thing for Saturday night, and we're here now. It's just on our doorstep, so we can't wait.
No, I bet you can't. I mean, you've got 2 All-Ireland champions coming. It's presumably it's on the all-weather.
Yeah, both matches are on the all-weather, with the football kicking off at 4 p.m. and the hurling then is thrown in at 6 p.m. Okay. But I suppose what we would do is we'd advise people to come early. We hope we'll have the Sam Maguire and the Liam McCarthy Cup here on the day. They'll be here from 2 until 6. and it's a perfect opportunity for people to come in there and get their souvenir pictures taken with the both cups, which is very unusual to get both of them in Tipperary this time of year, not alone, say, in Feathertown Park.
Yeah. Parking, you might want to advise people on that because...
Yeah, so what we would do, I suppose, in the parking thing, there's going to be a big crowd, so we hope to get about 2,500 people here. We're up about 1,900 tickets now, so tickets are flying out now at the minute, so I'd say we'll be at full capacity here in the night. So as regards the parking, we have our car park here, we have the primary care centre new building beside us, which the teams are going to park in there. The school have kindly given us their premises where we can park cars in there. We'll have stewards down at the bank corner, and once that area fills up, we'll be asking people to filter through the town then, which is that there's wide areas around the town and plenty of car parking spaces around the town, which will probably only be about a 5 to 6 minute walk away from Feathertown Park.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be super nice because of, you've got marquee names coming as well, like Kerry footballers and Limerick hurlers. And one of the things that I think appeals to the Limerick hurlers and the Kerry footballers as well is the Dylan Quirk Foundation does such good work outside. It's not a Tipperary charity, it's a national charity, and they do such good work for kids in Kerry, Limerick and indeed the whole 26 counties. Yeah,
and I suppose that Dan is a tremendous character himself, and I spoke with Dan on numerous occasions about this, and they've been here and they've done some screening here for the local rugby club, and they've done some screening here for other people as well, and it's something that's done all over the country, so it is. It's a real eye-opener for people, I know a couple of kids that got screened that they didn't get the results they wanted to get, which is, it sounds bad, but it's actually a very good thing, because it gives them a pathway that they can go through and a road to recovery and get them back playing again.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Absolutely. When the weather's as bad as it is, and I know that the next 48 hours isn't great either,
yeah.
But my God, we're so grateful and so lucky we have Feathertown Park, because there was one day, you were playing matches on a Sunday night up until God knows what, 8 o'clock at night or something. There was girls football, and there was numerous matches one after the other out there.
Yeah, well, we just say in yesterday's case we had 7 matches here. The first match started at 10 and the last match started at 7:30 last night. And the previous week before that, we had another 6 matches here, 4 county ladies football finals and 2 South under 21A football and B finals, and 3 of the games went extra time.
Yes.
So on that particular night, it was 10:05 when the lights went out. So it was.
Well, it's only when you build something like that you wonder where would we be without it?
And I don't know, and that's the question, And what I do know is that, over last year alone, we had 450 matches played here. I actually don't know where those matches would have been played if Feathertown Park wasn't here.
Yeah.
So it's a fabulous facility for teams to play and get your games played.
It's so busy. I wonder, I know that Munster Rugby came at one stage to it. Does it still have an appeal outside of, or is there even space outside of Tipperary GA?
At the present moment in time, we'll say when we come into a winter programme, which we're in now, we'll say from November until April, it's a lot of county teams would be here. We do get the odd Kilkenny, Camogie come here and play quite a bit. The Cork teams play, the Tip Ladies footballers are here as well. So it's really, really busy. So it's really me trying to fit in all the other people around that, which a lot of them will be quite happy to fit in when they can to play.
One of the big GA stories in a season of many GA stories in Tipperary this year was the proposed expansion of Dr. Morris Park in Thurles. I don't see that as a threat to Feathertown Park. It probably might take the load off you a little bit, but there's still plenty of capacity for 2.
Yeah, and I suppose when you delve into that a small little bit, with the new buildings up, with the new developments up there, they're going to have 5 pitches. But by 2028, they hope to have the whole thing correlated into one, where the ladies' football and Camogie and the GA are all under the one umbrella. So we'll still take a big surplus from up there, and they will still come down here to train the underage squads, the development squads. At present, with the Tip under 20s here. They don't seem to have, it's kind of their home for when they train. Brendan Cummins brings down to 20 hurlers when he can, anytime he can get down here. So I think, yes, it's needed, and probably, maybe another one is needed in the county somewhere too,
Absolutely. It's a great facility, but most importantly, next Saturday night, 4 o'clock throw-in for Tipperary Kerry in football, 6 o'clock throw-in for Tipperary Limerick in hurling. with the facility open from 2 o'clock with both cups there.
Yeah, and I suppose the only thing is I'd say to people is I'd advise people to come that little bit early, because Feather's a small town and there will be probably a small bit of congestion there at times in the traffic. So if they can get up early, park their car and walk up along to the pitch and get in here and just enjoy the atmosphere. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere here once the light come on here on the night, at the night time. 2,500 people inside in a small little stadium roaring and shouting. It's going to feel like we're in Croke Park.
Tommy, fair play, you're selling it well.
Yeah.
Listen, I hope you have a cracking night. I really do. I'm sure you will. I actually don't know why I'm wishing you luck, because this sort of thing is sell itself. Tickets available. You've sold a lot of tickets. Where, if you want to get tickets beforehand, and can you get them on the night? That's one question from the texter.
Tickets are available on Eventbrite, and there's a link there for tickets. There's family tickets, and there's single tickets, and there's children tickets. And then on the night, if people turn up on the night without a ticket, there's going to be a donation box there that they can pay into the box for the game on the night, where the proceeds will go to Dylan Quick Foundation. Excellent.
Listen, Tommy, the best of luck with it.
Thank you very much.
Mind yourself. Tommy Sheehan joining us there, caretaker of Feathertown Park on that Champions Under Lights night, which takes place in Feathertown Park this Saturday night. Tip Kerry in football 4 o'clock, Tip Limerick in hurling 6 p.m. with both cups present. Our text number is 083 311 3311. Pat O'Donoghue, Cashel Rugby Club's on the line. How are you, Pat?
I'm good, Ron, and yourself?
I'm very well indeed. How would you describe the season from a Cashel point of view so far?
Topsy-turvy, I suppose, would be the accurate description. Look, like from the highs of Trinity last year, in the playoffs, we're third from the bottom now in Division 2A at present, with one game to go in the first half of the season. It's a big change for us. But having said that, we've a lot of new players after coming in. We've a young team that we're putting together quite well. I would look at it as more a consistency problem than anything else. We're playing some great rugby, over the 80 minutes, but we're not doing it for the 80 minutes, if you know what I mean, Rona. And that is what I can see as being an issue.
Well, bonus points are scant consolation when you make the trip over to Galway. You come away with a 10-9 defeat.
Yes.
A bonus point is all well and good, but ultimately those, you've got to win your home games, obviously, as much as you can. But if you can get something on the road, it just eases the pressure enormously.
It does. Like, and as I keep telling the lads, don't panic. Like, we're not even halfway through the season yet.
You have to keep reminding yourself of that. You're dead right.
You do, because there's another 9 games after Christmas. So things can change really, really quick in this league, because a couple of bonus points on the road, as you said, it can make a huge difference. And like, if you look at the position for playoffs, like we're in 8th. If we get to 5th, you're in a playoff position there. And that could happen over the course of 2 or 3 games. So look, the lads are working really hard, running that they're training really hard. They're working, twice a week. They're doing gym work and all that kind of stuff. It's not for the want of effort or effort on the field. It's just that bit of consistency that we had, last year. We had, some experienced people in our ranks, that could grab a game by the neck, and drive it on. But we're getting there. I'm not panicking. I have great confidence in the lads and the management team, So yeah. It'll be a wait and see kind of a approach from us, but I wouldn't write us off at all. Well,
it's worth putting everything in context. I mean, if you look at some of the names in the division you're in, okay, Barnhall have the might of a university to pick from as well, and then you've got sort of such established names in Irish rugby, the likes of Shannon, Wanderers, Greystones, Old Crescent, Ballymena.
Yeah.
Big hitters.
Yeah, they're massive hitters, like, and the tradition way beyond anything that we would have, But having said that, we're building, from the bottom up. Our minis are flying. Our under 18s are able to field now with all homegrown players. Like junior ones were very unlucky yesterday against Middleton. So we're getting the work done. We're getting performance on the field, but we need the consistency of an 80-minute performance. To get, when you get ahead, stay ahead. Like Ballymena, we went 21-0 up. Greystones, we went 21-0 down, and could have won both those games. The last against Corinthians, we were 9-0 up at half time. They got a very fortuitous try. which came off the padding on the post, and they ended up beating us 10-9. So there's nothing in it, as far as being competitive on the field, as a subject to talk about.
That kind of concludes the fixtures for this year, doesn't it? You'll have the Christmas off now and a chance to come
with
back.
Wanderers next Saturday.
Oh, you Wanderers? Oh, have you? Oh, right. Yes, sorry, there is games on 30th.
Yeah, that'll be another titanic struggle because Wanderers, they're a very fast team, very skillful team, but they come at the Cashel. It's the last game before the Christmas break up. So we'll be hoping and praying for a performance and a victory.
Well, it's the home games, as I said, that are so critical, aren't they?
Well, they are, you see, and as you said already, you have to win your home games. Take every advantage you can, and if you're pushing hard at home, you will get a few away victories as well. Even Saturday gone, we were so unlucky. We dominated the second half, up front and through the back line as well. So unlucky, we got over the line at one stage and held up. So it's very, very tight, and the margins are so tight. But we're well in there with a shout, I think. Yeah,
2:30 kick-off in Spafield next Saturday afternoon. If you're making your way to Feathertown Park for 4, you might drop into Cashel on the way, give them a shout. That's the hell of an afternoon sport if you were to make that
just
trip.
Before you go running, I'd just like to mention we had our first inaugural tractor truck run last Saturday in Cashel Rugby Club.
Okay.
We had Santa Claus above at the clubhouse. We had a massive crowd partook, over 200 vehicles, all lit up for Christmas. We had the Christmas tree lit up in the club, and we had a massive day both down to town and in the club, and the Christmas atmosphere was unreal. And I hope all the kids enjoyed it and the parents, because it really kicked off the Christmas feeling in town, and we did it in association with the Chamber of Commerce, Skull Cormac and Skull Anglesey, so it was a community effort headed up by Eddie Ryan, I have to say, who was fantastic all the way through. He took hold of it early on in the year. Put the plans in place, and the execution was top class, really professional, and we're all delighted with that. Our off-field pursuits are flying. We just need to get it right on the field now.
Yeah, just before I let you go, I have great sympathy for Nina Ormond this year.
Yes.
At one stage, I think they went and played Lansdowne, and Max Deegan was playing against them, and the following week he was playing for Leinster. I mean, it's almost like the academies in Leinster use the AIL Division 1A to give some game time to players who are professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And sure, if you look at our side of it, I'll get back to Nina again, Ron, on this, but if you look at our game against Trinity last year, Paddy McCarthy played for
Okay,
Trinity.
fair enough, yeah.
He's been capped twice for Ireland.
That just shows you what quality you can see, like.
Yeah. And he's a great young fella. I met his parents. His mother's actually a Cashel lady.
Oh, that explains a lot.
It does. But the Nina thing, it's hard. It's hard in that division. The quality is incredible. But I've every faith in Nina to turn this. They're a bit like Cashel. When we get going, we really get going. And I've every faith in Nina, and they're working hard at it. And please God, they'll.
But it just shows the level. The level is extraordinarily high. And I know you're focused on your own, but you look a little south, you'll see Clonmel actually starting to fill into their clothes down in the two divisions below you. But after coming up from junior and kind of wandering around in the wilderness of Division 2C, they look like they might be getting a hang of this senior rugby.
Yeah, they have a great man in charge of Pat O'Connor.
Where's he from now?
Cashel, or Pat is the head coach in Clonmel.
I know that.
He was coming out to Cashel when I was finishing up. So they have a great man in charge down there, and they have a great pool of players. And the majority of them are local players.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the likes of Clonmel coming through as well, because it's all good for the game in the county.
Well, I'd love to see a renewal of I was going to say hostilities, friendly rivalries.
Rivalries would be the
better word. Yes, absolutely. Listen, Pat, have a great Christmas. I might chat to you next week after that Wanderers game. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you very much.
All right, take it easy. Not at all, take it easy. That's delighted to be joined there by Pat O'Donoghue of Cashel Rugby Club. And as I say, if you can get to that game next Saturday in Spafield, 2:30 kick-off, lots to see. And when you see, like, they play Trinity last year, and Paddy McCarthy's playing for Trinity, who might be playing on the Wanderers team that you might well see in an Irish shirt in the not too distant future. Tom McGrath's on the line. How are you, Tom?
Good, Roland, thanks.
The draw has been made for the Harty Cup quarter-finals. Our Ladies Templemore will face Flannans, Thurles CBS, De La Salle, Nina CBS against Middleton, and there's a fourth one which I'll find in a second. Anyway,
Tulla and Blackwater Community School.
That's it, you're absolutely right, fair play. Your thoughts from a Our Ladies Templemore point of view?
Well, I suppose from a general point of view, Tipperary, I think it's great that there's 3 teams involved in the latter stages of the competition. I suppose that's the thing. Templemore probably would have been maybe a little bit surprised to have made the playoff stage as it turned out, because they were in a very tight group, and it came down to I think there was a 5-point margin in one of the matches, but the other matches were all 1 and 2 pointers. So very, very tight group. So I think they'll be more than pleased to have got out of it. But now I'm not sure where Flannans are. Flannans, I think, were in the Nina group, and while Nina gave a bit of a trimming in the last match, Flannans topped the group because it wasn't exactly on score difference. So the colleges had some other way of doing it. Don't they always, it was based something on goals scored or something like that, which.
Yeah, I think there was a misinterpretation of the rules at the time, and it was clarity only descended when the full-time whistle went.
Well, I suppose it's just the schools did something different, because generally it is on score difference, but then they don't tend to have score difference with underage and all this type of stuff. Okay. So, look, the key bit is the three Tipperary schools in the last 8 of a competition, which augurs well for the your minor situation and your under 20 situation, and I suppose important too is that they avoided each other in the quarterfinals. Now, whether that was accidental or deliberate, I don't know. But look, they've avoided each other anyway, which is important. And look, see how Nina will be. I think Nina have a decent team, and Thurles also. That they're reckoned to be 2 of the top 3, I think, by some of the comments that I've heard anyway. So, do you see an umbilical between, Harty Cup success and how that feeds into inter-county underage performance? It has to, because it's good barometer, and it fills for we call it the upper tier, the good players, we say, or the extra good players that's going to form your minor squad of the following year. Now, it's not as much of a connect as there was previously, because the inter-county thing, under 17 and all that, but it has to be a help, because in that period it's top class competition for players that might be getting a whole lot of competition with their clubs, because all clubs can't be involved at this time of the year, and the schools thing fulfills the purpose, as long as it doesn't cut too much across the clubs. But I think all them things are being tweaked, and we're getting very near, if it's possible in GA terms, we're getting very near a perfect system. So I mean, good that it's been things are being tweaked without being totally thrown out and come back in with a new plan. I think that's the important thing. Work the good bits of what you have and do the adjustments then on the bits that can be improved, and work it from there.
Yeah, indeed. I was going to talk to you about some of the highlights of the year, but something happened yesterday that kind of curtailed or hijacked the conversation I was going to have with you. The football rules, I think, by and large, have been universally welcomed. It's made football a much more watchable sport. It's made it much more probably enjoyable to play as well, I'd imagine, for the players.
I think so.
It must have. But now, nobody for a moment thought that Jim Gavin's committee were going to land on perfection on day one, and they have, in fairness, tweaked them. But I'm wondering about the latter stages of the Danganny-Coosh St. Finbarr's match. I don't know if you caught it. We probably saw it on TV if you didn't get it, where a player doesn't hand the ball back. He fouls the ball, I think. He overcarries. It doesn't hand the ball back. The referee goes up 50 yards and the free becomes a kickable 2-pointer. Danganny-Coosh are a point down at the time and win the Munster Championship. I suppose the question I'm asking, the punishment just doesn't seem to fit the crime, particularly when the ball is advanced by such a distance, although players have had lots of time to get used to that rule.
Yeah, I suppose there was a bit more to it than that. I've seen it 4 times now, and if I was a Barras person, I'd be getting more annoyed each time I'd look at it.
Annoyed with the player or annoyed with the referee, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, annoyed with the decision. Yeah, I think Barras would be entitled to that, because to my way of thinking, the Barras player was definitely fouled and the ball went loose on the ground. And if the other Barras player had just left it, now the ball, I know where the ball would have finished, was rolling back towards his own goal, and he just picked it up and sort of. Now, the
player, to my way of looking at it, he kind of fumbled the exchange. He made it look as if I think the Kerry lads worked it well enough now like that. But I think the penalty was a bit severe now. It wasn't as if the player pulled the ball behind his back and caused the Kerry fellas to draw a slap at him or anything like that. No, it was a bit unfair. But look, there was other things in the match as well. And I think it was a super game of football, enhanced hugely by the 2-pointers and all that time. Some super kicking from both sides. And where was it? Best field in the country at this stage of the year. Simple Stadium. Similarly, you had a game on Saturday night. Super game of hurling. It was in the next best field at this stage, Croke Park. But back to the pity that was overshadowed by the way the thing worked out at the finish. But look, I suppose the rules are there. They're all open to interpretation, and it was unfortunate on the Bears the way it worked out. But then I think Dang and Nicosh were entitled for an old break too. They had to play a Munster final a couple of years ago in absolute horrendous conditions below in Limerick. Should never have been played, and they were beaten on penalty. So, look, what goes around comes around, I suppose, really. But
but it's very hard to get back to it. I don't have to tell you, Munster finals are hard to get to, and when you're there and you're leading for the majority of it and you're ahead with 60 minutes on the clock, you kind of have one hand on the flipping thing.
Exactly. I know. I think it was extremely harsh now to go through the little angles, and there was other little bits and pieces as well. But also coming down the stretch, the Bears had missed a couple of gilt-edged chances as well, like that. That they were scoring earlier. There was no pressure and all that type of thing. That tells at that level as well. So look, it's not. They're not easy to win, and sort of I suppose there's different days and that, but just. It's a pity it finished the way it finished, and strange. None of the commentary honed in on the actual decision with regard to the direction the free went. Where I was, the free was going the other way. There wasn't any doubt about that. But then that's the problem with his hand back ball like that. It's probably one of the ones that needs a little bit of tweak, and how you're going to tweak it, I'm not sure. But look, football rules generally are a huge success, and I think the hurling boys will have to follow that fairly shortly too.
Okay, and there's a lot to unpack there, but before it comes to hurling, the genesis or the reason for the hand back is to stop fellas coming in contact with each other. One fella kind of holding on to the ball, another fella trying to rip it off him, and that just leads to a coming together, for want of a better term. So if the player is required to give the ball back, it reduces the risk of comings together. That presumably was the methodology used by Gavin and his committee.
Oh Lord, I think the concept, the original concept was perfect, because this thing of a fella holding the ball, then they roll it back on the ground and all this type of stuff, that infuriates players. And I mean, we've profited from those situations and we've lost in those situations. So, I mean, it goes on, and the further down the food chain you go, the more pronounced it is, because you don't have the strict officiating maybe that at junior B level that you might have at inter-county level. But it was needed, and I think there's been more successes with it than there was failures. That's what I'm saying, is that the overall that the rules shouldn't be dispensed with because there's been one little failing somewhere.
No, I completely agree with you. Absolutely. So that brings me to my next question then, which was not quite a throwaway comment by it, but what rules would you like to see changed in hurling? If you think that the football rules have been such a success, sure, hurling's perfect.
Well, sure, it depends who you're talking to. It's perfectly spot, but then we try and be neutral in all these discussions, yes. And I'd like to think that we are too. I mean, the simple one is at a free puck situation or free kick situation, fellas standing, first thing you'll hear, a free awarded, stand on it. I mean, what each player has to do, apart from the guy taking the free, is everybody must get 20 metres away from the free as quickly as possible. And it's standard practice now, stand on, and that's then this pushing and shoving goes on. So that's needed in hurling too, that lads retreat. The other one then is fella pucks away the ball or kicks it away or just touches it away. That has to be changed. And then the other one, of course, is that a referee gives a free in football, and this dissent. Well, it's from the sideline, from the management or from a player. Well, potentially it's a 50-metre penalty. currently at the moment you can say what you like to a hurling referee, and it will probably go, well, depending on how annoyed the referee is, he might go 30 yards with it, but the rule is 20 metres, so that's one. Now I think 50 would be too much, but
it would,
it just enforce the penalty. Was there a whole lot wrong with football line that a lot of the rules weren't being enforced? And the same way in the hurling. So the biggest problem in hurling at the minute is the hand pass and the throw ball.
Yes, it is.
And that has to be. Now I think Conor Donelan did an awful lot of work on it, but I think Conor's solution was a little bit too maybe convoluted. It comes down.
I think it appears convoluted until Conor shows it to you, and then it makes perfect sense to me. But I'm perhaps more easily swayed than some people who actually have a vote in these matters.
Yeah, well, you'll see it. You'll see it. This switch of the hands to hand pass the ball away perfectly. You see it in the match, and sure, it comes natural, fellas. Fellas do it, and it's a bit, use ambidextrous, having to be able to use your two hands, and just why fellas throw the ball is that it eliminates the chance of their arm being snagged.
Yes.
In trying to implement a proper hand pass, and then hurley's being held and arms being held and that type of stuff. Enforce the rules that's there, and you go halfway to solving the problem.
I think hurley's been held and then pulling the fella down, so it appears as if you've been pulled down. That one drives me mad. Trying to buy a free. That one.
Well, I think they learned that from the football though. That this arm goes in, but then I'd said, fellas, well, what's your arm doing in there? Lads are putting an arm in for a reason, and they're putting it in to disrupt, whereas they're not playing the ball in, so it's hurling needs a few changes, all right, but why have different penalties for the same offences in football to hurling? It's always pretty much the two rules are the same, all the time. So your level of tolerance in football can be lesser now than it was from a hurling referee point of view. You have more powers.
Yeah, it's strange to think that the players are, the club season is only just drawn to a close, and the intercounty players are back with programmes and probably at full tilt.
Yeah, and even I'd say club players that are serious about things too. There's the club season is so long, but the lifespan of a player is not hugely long either now at this stage. And fellas are inclined to be, I see some of our own lads that they'd go and they'd do a little bit of gym work from a social perspective. That they're so used to meeting 2 and 3 times a week for 6 months of the year, and then there's a social aspect. The pub scene is not the same as it was either. That lads are more serious about their game, and different social events going on then this time of the year. Lads will, have different ways of coming together and whiling their time, and I suppose they're a little bit bored, really, would be the best way of. But that was something that was always done, I suppose, back along. Then there was an era came when players started maybe playing other codes for the winter and that type of stuff. But there's not room to do that now because there's no winter anymore, really.
No, it's true. The days of soccer and rugby picking up a few GA lads, those days are pretty much gone, actually, to be honest with you, because there just isn't room, as you say, and you commit to one, you really have to be committed to it. There's no real, there's no room for a different sport, I think, particularly if you're playing it at a high level. Tom, I got to go. Lots to talk about, I'm sure, next week, and there's lots to reflect on what was a marvellous year. I met a former intercounty player during the week, and we were just very quickly said to one another, what a great year it was, and I suddenly kind of recalled the under-20s hardly get a look in when we were having our conversation. I was glad to see them at the medal presentation up in the Abbey Court last week, I think it was, because when I was just going to say that to you, that got the under-20 win, and again, it was one that wasn't looking very promising early in the campaign, but that was one that got a little bit lost in all the turmoil. But sure, look, it's there, and it was wonderful for lads involved. But that's an important hugely
age group for a little bit of and a good number of them have been called in now to the senior squad to get a bit of experience there, and that has to help them too. It's the way that numbers. Right, it's effort and it's all that type of stuff, and there's cost involved for players and county boards and all that with all these players. But look, that's all about building getting your base numbers higher, and the more players you have that are at that level, then that's all the better.
Is it important to show young players there's a path to senior?
course, I think that their efforts are being recognised and seen, and promotion. It's a natural way of coming through it. And there were players then, that an awful lot of players from senior clubs, but a lot of players from, we say, Premier, Intermediate, and indeed junior clubs, that they're being thought of too. But then a lot of them have been going to college over the years, and they've been exposed to sport and hurling and football at a higher level than maybe in the past.
Yeah.
And that all helps to bring their standards up too. And then by bringing them into the senior thing, they see what the thing is about. And okay, they won't all make it, and they won't all be able to give the time that's required for it. No, I'd say to lads every so often, it's easy for the fellas around within 10-15 kilometres of Thurles. Like, yeah, you just tip into Thurles. But fellas having to come from the outlying areas of the county. And I mean, Thurles is a long ways from the bridge in Portumna or the bridge in Carrick. Like, that's a long ways into Thurles, and then you have to go home after that. Like, so. And then there's zonal training and the gym stage and all that type of stuff. We've come a long way in a lot of regards. I think that's the welcome too. Like,
Tom, I gotta fly. Talk to you soon.
A final thing for 15 seconds. County final played in Holy Cross yesterday. The Mines, Silver Mines, haven't won a county final for a good number of years.
This is
the Junior B final.
Oh, Junior B, yes, sorry, yes, you're absolutely right.
Well, a good quality match, and I suppose most people going to it expected that Sarsfields, with plenty of household names on the team, that they would do it. But no, Mines, they didn't grind out a win. They had a fully earned 10-point win for a finish, like. 214 to 10 points, you did right, yeah. Yeah, and Sarsfields actually only scored a point in the second half, which was a tribute to the Mines' defensive thing, and they had a gem of a goalkeeper. He scored 3 points from about, I think, downtown, as some of the basketball commentators might say, scored 3 terrific long-range points for frees. And no, the game was played an absolute super spirit. It was a great game. Or pity the underfoot conditions were bad, but where are you going to get? Like, everybody went home happy. I don't think there was a wrong stroke in the whole game, and everybody was happy. Bar, of course, the third Sarsfields would be entitled to be unhappy, but look, they're beaten by a better team. I think they'll be. No, you're right. They're good sporting people. It's been a while since since Silver Mines won a county title at any grade, so delighted for them. Excellent. Thanks, Tom. Yeah. Okay. Talk soon. God bless. Take care. That's Tom McGrath with his thoughts on events. Let's just, before we go, have a quick word to Barry Ryan. How are you, Barry?
How are you, Ronan?
Not a lot to talk about because pitches are suffering at this time of the year, aren't they?
Yeah, look, I suppose actually probably the most interesting stat in the TSDL at the moment is Rose Green are the last team standing, the only unbeaten team in junior football in TSDL.
Well done, Rose Green. They had a 2-1 win over Oldbridge.
Yeah, and they've opened up a 4-point gap now because Peakville B will be particularly strong in that division. So that might be a really interesting title race to keep an eye on as well.
We were talking to Tom there about, there's not enough gap or room in the season for fellas to play winter sports when they're leaving GAA. Mullinahone with 4-3 win over Peakville B might have picked up a couple of lads.
Yeah, I would. When I saw the result and the scoreline and the way the game went, because that Peakville team is littered with players who would have played first team football and would be particularly strong. So that was a big scalp for Mullinahone to come into Thurles and see out that one 4-3. And I definitely had that same thought of the timing of that game might have been really, really good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, those were the I suppose the take-home mess or the big results. There was one game in Division 3 where Donoghue beat Tipperary Town 5-2, but all the sort of marquee games in the Premier League, and particularly the Classico between Michaels and Clonmel was called off. As I have you, the draw was made for the World Cup, Barry, and I was surprised to see so much talk about who and we might be playing in Pool A of the World Cup. There's a hell of a lot of football have to be played before Ireland can even contemplate playing Mexico, South Korea or South Africa.
Yeah, I saw Craig Bellamy interview today, the Wales manager, and they didn't attend the draw, and he just said, look, we'd no business really being there because essentially we're not in the World Cup yet.
I think that's very fair.
One of those, two eyes on it because, it's interesting and so on, but there's so much for us to do to get there, and you almost are afraid to look too far ahead because I suppose we've been burned so many times.
Yeah, no, and like Denmark aren't bad, the Czechs are decent, although I think they lost to the Faroe Islands relatively recently. But is Nedved, I think, is their manager at the moment?
Nedved is the head of the association, and he actually replaced the manager after the Faroe Islands game, and they've a new manager since. But it'll still be a difficult away game. But if we could get over that, you'd feel like the Denmark game is a 50-50 in the Aviva with home advantage and so on. We almost feel like we maybe owe them one as well.
In 20 seconds, I'm going to put you on the spot. Will Mo Salah play for Liverpool again?
I don't think he will. I think if they can get a sale to Saudi Arabia, I think they'll cash in.
Get him off the payroll.
Yeah, I think at his age, his form has dipped. What Mo Salah was, the numbers he was delivering was fine when he wasn't helping defensively. But as soon as you stop delivering those numbers, I think you're in trouble.
Barry, is always an education. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a million, Ronan.
Take care. Barry Ryan with his thoughts on all things soccer. That's all we've time for. Ian O'Connor produced tonight's show. We'll be back with you next Monday night. Good night.
At 8. Good evening. I'm Tina Gates. Downing Street says European allies have